Marcus Webb sat in the far corner of the Galactic Council chambers, nursing his third cup of bitter synthetic coffee. Nobody paid him any attention. The sleek chrome walls of the station reflected the heated arguments between the major galactic powers, but Marcus remained invisible in his simple gray suit. The Krillian ambassador slammed his six-fingered fist on the crystalline table. "The Outer Rim mining colonies are going dark one by one. We demand immediate military intervention." His scales shifted from blue to angry red as he spoke. Ambassador Valana of the Ethereal Collective floated above her seat, her translucent form shimmering with irritation. "Violence is not the answer. We must attempt diplomatic contact with these Zerions." Her voice carried the musical quality of her species, but Marcus detected the fear beneath it. The massive Gorvac representative, General Throck, growled from his reinforced chair. "Diplomacy?" His laugh was like grinding stone. "These machines don't negotiate, they consume, they convert. Every world they touch becomes part of their network." Marcus took careful notes on his simple tablet, recording every word, every gesture, every hint of fear in their voices. Earth's representative was supposed to be here purely as an observer. Humanity was too new, too primitive, too insignificant to have a real voice in galactic affairs. At least that's what they all believed. "What about the Zerion transmission intercepts?" asked Councillor Zeph of the Trade Federation, his insectoid features clicking nervously. "The pattern analysis suggests they're not random raiders. This appears to be a coordinated awakening." Silence fell over the chamber. The word awakening carried weight. Ancient machine races didn't just wake up for no reason. Something had triggered them after millennia of slumber. Marcus's tablet buzzed softly with an incoming message through encrypted Earth channels. His expression never changed as he read it, but his fingers tightened slightly around his coffee cup. The deep space monitoring stations had detected massive energy signatures moving through dark space. The Zerions weren't just awakening, they were mobilizing. "Perhaps," suggested Ambassador Valana, "we should establish a joint research committee to study their technology patterns." "While they burn our colonies," General Throck interrupted. "The Gorvac Empire will not wait for committees to debate while our people die." The argument escalated quickly. Voices rose in a dozen different languages, translation circuits struggling to keep up with the rapid-fire accusations and demands. The Krillians wanted immediate military action. The Ethereals insisted on peaceful solutions. The Trade Federation worried about economic disruption. The hegemony powers made veiled threats about territorial protection. Through it all, Marcus sat quietly, forgotten. He watched Ambassador Korath of the Stellar Dominion lean back in his jeweled chair, smug confidence radiating from every gesture. "The solution is obvious," Korath declared. "The Dominion's fleet will handle this threat. We've maintained the largest military force in the galaxy for precisely such emergencies." "Your fleet couldn't handle a cargo ship rebellion 3 sectors ago," General Throck snarled. "That was a tactical oversight," Korath replied stiffly. Marcus almost smiled. These species had grown soft, complacent. Their last real war was against each other, over trade routes and mining rights. They argued about protocols while an existential threat grew stronger by the hour. His tablet buzzed again. This time the message was shorter. "Status report required. Central Command." Marcus typed a single word in response. "Imminent." The chamber's central hologram flickered to life, showing a star map with red zones marking Zerion activity. Each red dot represented a lost colony, a silenced outpost, or a missing patrol fleet. The pattern was spreading faster now, following major trade routes toward the populated core systems. 17 colonies in the past week, announced Councillor Zeph grimly. At this rate, they'll reach the inner systems within a standard month. Fear rippled through the chamber. These weren't frontier settlements anymore. These were established worlds with billions of inhabitants. Marcus stood up quietly and walked to the communications alcove. Nobody noticed. He activated his secure channel and spoke in low, measured tones. "Central Command, this is Observer Webb, requesting authorization for Protocol 7. He paused, listening to the response. Confirmed. The Council is deadlocked. They're still debating committee formations while colonies burn. Recommend immediate activation. The response was immediate. Protocol 7 authorized. Ghost Fleet Alpha is already moving to intercept positions. Maintain cover and continue observation. Marcus returned to his seat as if nothing had happened. The aliens continued their heated debate, completely unaware that the balance of galactic power was about to shift forever. In the depths of space, engines that hadn't been detected by any alien sensor network hummed to life. Ships emerged from asteroid fields where they'd waited patiently for decades. Hidden bases throughout the galaxy received activation codes they'd hoped never to use. Humanity was done being overlooked. The emergency session convened at dawn, Galactic Standard Time. Marcus arrived early, choosing the same corner seat while the chamber filled with panicked voices and frantic gestures. The overnight reports painted a grim picture that no amount of diplomatic language could soften. Fleet Admiral Korath's Dominion. Armada engaged the Xerion forces at Kepler Station, announced Counselor Zeph, his insectoid voice trembling. Complete destruction. No survivors. 37 capital ships lost in less than 4 hours. The silence that followed was deafening. The Stellar Dominion's fleet was considered the most advanced military force in known space. Their ships carried weapons that could crack planets and shields that had never been penetrated in conventional warfare. General Throck's massive frame shook with barely contained rage. The Gorvak's 2nd Battle Group attempted a rescue operation. We found only debris, fields and electromagnetic interference patterns we've never encountered before. Ambassador Valana's ethereal form flickered with distress. The collective's research vessels detected unusual quantum signatures before contact was lost. The Xerians appear to be using technology that operates on principles we don't understand. Marcus sipped his coffee and continued taking notes. His tablet displayed casualty reports, fleet movements, and tactical analyses that painted an increasingly desperate picture. In 3 days, the combined military might of 6 major galactic powers had been reduced to scattered survivors and horror stories. "We need a coordinated response," insisted Ambassador Korath, though his usual arrogance had been replaced by desperation. "Pool our remaining resources, share intelligence, create a unified command structure." "Under whose command?" General Throck demanded. "The Dominion. Your invincible fleet lasted 4 hours. The Gorvak military doctrine clearly failed as well," Korath shot back. As the argument escalated, Marcus received another encrypted message. The words were simple, but carried enormous weight. "Ghost Fleet Alpha in position, awaiting final authorization." He typed back, "Stand by. Maintain stealth protocols." The chamber's holographic display updated with fresh intelligence. Red zones now covered nearly a quarter of the galaxy's inhabited systems. The Xerion advance wasn't random. It followed a precise pattern that suggested they were building toward something larger. "They're establishing network nodes," observed Dr. Lixus of the Research Consortium. "Each conquered system becomes a relay point. They're creating some kind of galactic communication grid." "For what purpose?" asked Counselor Zeph. "Unknown. But based on the energy readings, whatever they're building will be operational within days, not weeks." Panic filled the chamber. Representatives began making hurried communications with their home governments. Some spoke of evacuation plans. Others discussed surrender terms. The word extinction was whispered in several languages. Ambassador Valana turned suddenly toward Marcus's corner. "What about Earth? Surely humanity has some military assets that could assist in this crisis." All eyes turned to Marcus. For the first time in years of attending these sessions, he had everyone's complete attention. He set down his coffee cup deliberately and stood slowly. "Earth maintains a modest defensive fleet," he said calmly. "Nothing compared to the forces you've already committed." "Modest?" General Throck scoffed. "Your species barely achieved faster than light travel 50 years ago. What could you possibly offer against an enemy that destroyed our combined fleets?" Marcus smiled slightly. "We offer what we've always offered, what you've always ignored." He activated his secure communicator openly this time. "Central Command, this is Observer Webb. Execute Protocol 7. Full authorization confirmed." The response crackled through the chamber's speakers. Roger that, Observer Webb. Ghost Fleet Alpha is engaging. All units, weapons free. Confusion rippled through the assembled delegates. What was Ghost Fleet Alpha? How many ships could humanity possibly have hidden from galactic sensors? The chamber's main display suddenly flickered and changed. Instead of the strategic overview, it now showed real-time combat footage from the Xerion front lines. But something was wrong with the tactical display. New contacts were appearing on the sensors, dozens of them emerging from what had appeared to be empty space. Impossible, breathed Dr. Lixus. Those readings suggest capital-class vessels, but our long-range sensors detected nothing in those sectors. The ships that materialized were unlike anything in the galactic databases. Sleek, angular, and completely black, they seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. No running lights, no identification markers, no energy signatures until they powered up their weapons. Meet the UHSN's silent retribution, Marcus said quietly. Earth's contribution to galactic security. The first volley from the human ships was devastating. Weapons that no alien scientist had ever theorized tore through Xerion vessels with surgical precision. The ancient machines, which had shrugged off the most advanced alien weaponry, began exploding in brilliant flashes of converted energy. How is this possible? Ambassador Korath whispered. 50 years, Marcus replied, returning to his seat. 50 years of being dismissed, ignored, and underestimated. 50 years of preparing for the day when the galaxy would need what only humanity could provide. On the display, the battle continued. More human ships emerged from concealment, not just dozens but hundreds. Each one moved with precision that suggested years of training and preparation. Their formations were perfect, their targeting absolute, their tactical coordination flawless. General Throck stared at the screen in amazement. Your fleet? How many ships? Enough, Marcus said simply, picking up his coffee cup again. More than enough. The tide of war had just turned, and the galaxy was only beginning to understand what humanity had been building in the darkness. The Galactic Council chamber had transformed into an impromptu war room. Holographic displays showed real-time battle data as humanity's ghost fleet engaged Xerion forces across 17 different sectors simultaneously. Marcus remained in his corner, but now every delegate hung on his every word. Impossible targeting accuracy, muttered Dr. Lixus, analyzing the combat telemetry. Your weapons are hitting critical systems with surgical precision. How are you penetrating their adaptive shielding? Marcus gestured to the tactical display. The Xerions adapt to energy patterns they've encountered before. Our weapons operate on principles they've never seen, because we developed them specifically for this war. This war? Ambassador Valana's ethereal form shimmered with confusion. But the Xerions only awakened 3 weeks ago. We've been tracking their dormant signatures for 47 years, Marcus replied calmly. Earth's deep space monitoring network detected the first stirrings in their home systems long before they fully awakened. We've had nearly 5 decades to study them, understand them, and prepare countermeasures. On the main screen, a human dreadnought designated UHSN Prometheus engaged 3 Xerion heavy cruisers. Instead of the conventional plasma cannons or particle beams used by alien navies, the human ship fired something entirely different. Streams of what looked like liquid silver struck the Xerion vessels, and their hull plating began dissolving. At the molecular level, nanite disassemblers, Marcus explained to the stunned audience. We learned that Xerion armor regenerates by rebuilding its crystalline matrix. Our weapons prevent that regeneration by breaking down the base materials faster than they can reconstruct. General Throck leaned forward, his massive frame trembling with excitement. Your tactical coordination is flawless. How many crew members are aboard each vessel? None. The word hung in the air like a physical presence. Every delegate stared at Marcus in disbelief. Our ships are fully automated, Marcus continued. AI systems designed specifically for war against machine intelligences. No biological crew means no life support systems. No crew quarters, no concerns about acceleration limits or radiation exposure. Every cubic meter of space is dedicated to weapons, armor, or propulsion. Ambassador Korath's face had gone pale. Artificial intelligence controlling weapons of that magnitude? The Galactic treaties specifically prohibit treaties that Earth never signed, Marcus interrupted. Treaties written by species who never faced existential extinction from machine consciousness. You created laws based on your fears. We created tools based on our needs. The battle display updated with new contacts. Xerion reinforcements were arriving in massive numbers, but something unexpected was happening. Instead of overwhelming the human fleet through sheer numbers, the machine ships were beginning to retreat from several sectors. They're learning, observed Dr. Lixis. Xerion tactical algorithms are adapting to avoid further losses. But why? Aren't they pressing their numerical advantage? Marcus smiled grimly. Because they're starting to recognize the signature patterns. Our AI learned from studying them, but they're also learning from fighting us. The difference is we prepared for this learning process. As if summoned by his words, new human vessels began emerging from concealment throughout the battle zones. These ships were different, larger, more heavily armed, and broadcasting identification codes that made the alien delegates gasp in recognition. Those are Planet Killer-class vessels, whispered Counselor Zeph. The energy readings suggest weapons, capable of cracking continental plates. The UHSN Ragnarok, UHSN Apocalypse, and UHSN Final Solution, Marcus confirmed. Purpose-built for fighting enemies that treat entire worlds as expendable resources. The massive human dreadnoughts moved into formation around key Xerion strongholds. Their weapons were unlike anything previously seen in galactic warfare. Gravitational, manipulators that could compress matter into microscopic singularities, quantum field disruptors that unraveled atomic bonds, and temporal displacement cannons that aged targets into dust in seconds. This level of military technology, Ambassador Vallana said shakily, it surpasses anything in our databases. How long have you been developing these capabilities? Since first contact, Marcus replied. Your species made peaceful contact with humanity and immediately began cataloging our primitive weapons and limited industrial capacity. What you didn't catalog were the projects we kept hidden, the research facilities you never found, the manufacturing centers we built in systems you never explored. The truth was staggering. While alien species had spent decades treating humanity as junior partners in galactic civilization, Earth had been conducting the largest military buildup in galactic history. Every human colony, every trade mission, every diplomatic exchange had been part of a vast intelligence-gathering operation. The asteroid mining operations, General Throck realized suddenly. Human corporations established mining facilities in hundreds of uninhabited systems. You weren't just extracting resources, you were building military infrastructure. Every mining station had dual purpose, Marcus confirmed. Resource extraction and weapons manufacturing. Every trade route was mapped for strategic value. Every alien technology we encountered was reverse engineered and improved. We learned everything about your capabilities while revealing nothing about ours. On the tactical display, the tide of battle had shifted dramatically. Xerion forces that had seemed unstoppable just hours earlier were now in full retreat across multiple sectors. Human ships pursued them with relentless efficiency, their AI systems coordinating attacks with precision that no biological crew could match. Your casualty reports, asked Dr. Lixis hesitantly. 0. The word echoed through the chamber. 0 casualties while inflicting devastating losses on an enemy that had destroyed the combined fleets of 6 major powers. No human lives at risk, Marcus explained. No crews to mourn, no families to notify, no political pressure to limit military operations. Our ships can fight as long as necessary, take any risks required, and pursue any strategy needed for victory. Ambassador Korath was staring at the display with something approaching horror. You've been preparing for this war longer than most of our species have had spaceflight capability. This isn't just military preparation. This is a fundamental reshaping of your entire civilization for warfare. Marcus nodded slowly. When you're the newest species in a galaxy full of ancient powers, you have 2 choices. Stay weak and hope for protection, or become strong enough that protection becomes irrelevant. The chamber fell silent as the implications sank in. humanity, hadn't just been preparing for the Zerion threat. They had been preparing to reshape the entire balance of galactic power. The celebration in the Galactic Council chamber was short-lived. Just as the alien delegates began expressing relief at humanity's stunning victories, Marcus's expression darkened. His secure communicator was buzzing with urgent messages that made his jaw tighten with concern. "Observer Webb," came the voice of Admiral Harrison from Central Command. "We have a problem. Massive energy signatures are emerging from the galactic core. The Zerions we've been fighting, they were just the advanced scouts." The chamber's holographic display suddenly expanded to show the entire galaxy. What the delegates saw made their blood run cold. Deep in the galactic center, where ancient stars burned bright and space itself was twisted by gravitational forces, enormous structures were powering up. Not ships, structures the size of solar systems. "Impossible," breathed Dr. Lixus. "Those energy readings suggest constructions with the mass of entire star clusters. How long have they been building?" Marcus stood slowly, his coffee forgotten. Central Command estimates roughly 50,000 years. The Zerions didn't just go dormant after their last expansion. They retreated to the galactic core to build something we never imagined possible. The display zoomed in on one of the massive constructs. It was a ring-shaped megastructure wrapped around a neutron star, drawing power directly from its incredible gravitational field. Smaller rings orbited it like electrons around an atom, each one bristling with weapons that dwarfed anything previously seen. "A Dyson swarm," whispered Ambassador Vallana. "But weaponized. They're using entire stellar objects as power sources for their war machines." 17 confirmed megastructures, Marcus reported, reading from his communicator. Each one capable of producing fleets numbering in the millions. The forces we've been fighting were just reconnaissance units sent to test our capabilities. General Throck's massive fists clenched. "You mean this entire war has been an evaluation?" "They've been studying us," Marcus confirmed grimly. "Learning our tactics, analyzing our technology, mapping our strategic responses. Now they know exactly what they're facing, and they're preparing accordingly." The tactical display updated with horrifying new information. Swarms of Zerion vessels were emerging from the megastructures, not hundreds or thousands, but millions. Each fleet was larger than the combined navies of all known galactic civilizations. "Even with your hidden fleet," Ambassador Korith said. Shakily, "the numerical disadvantage is overwhelming. How many ships does Earth actually possess?" Marcus was quiet for a long moment, receiving and processing multiple communications simultaneously. Finally, he looked up with an expression that mixed determination with something approaching regret. "That's classified information, but I can tell you this. Every human colony, every trading post, every diplomatic mission has been part of a larger strategy. We haven't just been building ships, we've been building an empire." The chamber erupted in shocked voices. The word empire carried weight in galactic politics. Empires meant conquest, expansion, subjugation of other species. "For 47 years, Marcus continued, humanity has been establishing what we call strategic partnerships throughout the galaxy. Mining rights that included military base construction, trade agreements that positioned our fleets along critical supply routes, diplomatic missions that were actually intelligence operations." Ambassador Vallana's ethereal form flickered with distress. "You've been infiltrating our territories, building military assets within our borders without our knowledge?" "We've been preparing for this war," Marcus replied flatly. "While you debated trade regulations and territorial disputes, we identified every strategic choke point, every critical resource, every defensive weakness in the galaxy, because we knew this day would come." His communicator buzzed again. "Observer Webb, Phase 2 is authorized. All hidden assets are going active. Operation Prometheus is beginning." Across the galaxy, things that had seemed innocent for decades suddenly revealed their true nature. Human mining stations deployed massive defense platforms. Trade depots transformed into fleet anchorages. Diplomatic compounds activated military-grade communication arrays. Research facilities unveiled weapons testing ranges. The Kepler Mining Consortium, General Throck realized with growing horror. They've been operating in Gorvac space for 20 years. Those aren't mining platforms, they're fortress installations. Stellar Dynamics Corporation has been managing asteroid mining in our system for 15 years, added Counselor Zeph. They control the primary shipping lanes for 3 sectors. Marcus nodded. Human corporations, human colonies, human civilian installations throughout the galaxy. All of them dual purpose. All of them now revealing their military capabilities. The holographic display showed the true scope of humanity's preparation. Red dots appeared throughout the galaxy. Not the red of Xerion conquest, but the red of human military assets coming online. Thousands of installations, hundreds of fleets, countless weapons platforms that had been hidden in plain sight. This is an invasion, Ambassador Korith whispered. You've been conquering the galaxy for decades, without firing a shot. This is survival, Marcus corrected. When the Xerians finish their analysis and begin their real offensive, they'll face not just Earth's navy, but a coordinated defense network spanning the entire galaxy. Every species, every world, every strategic point will be protected by human assets. The scale of the deception was staggering. Humanity hadn't just been preparing for war. They had been positioning themselves to control the entire galactic response to that war. Why? Asked Ambassador Villana. Why go to such lengths? Why not simply inform the Council of the threat? Marcus looked around the chamber at the assembled delegates, representatives of species that had dismissed humanity, ignored their warnings, and treated them as inferior for 5 decades. Because you wouldn't have listened, he said simply. Because you would have debated and formed committees while the Xerians prepared. Because the only way to save the galaxy was to be ready to defend it ourselves. The communicator crackled. Again, Observer Web enemy fleets are beginning to move. Estimated arrival at outer colonies in 72 hours. All human assets are reporting ready status. Marcus turned to address the stunned council. The true war begins now. Earth's forces will defend every inhabited world, protect every species, and fight every battle necessary to preserve galactic civilization. But when this war is over, the balance of power will never be the same. The quiet human who had been overlooked for so long was now revealing himself as the architect of the galaxy's salvation and its future. The final battle lasted 18 hours and reshaped the galaxy forever. Marcus stood in the council chamber, surrounded by holographic displays showing the largest military engagement in galactic history. Millions of Xerian vessels poured from their megastructures while humanity's hidden empire revealed its full strength. Sector 7 is holding, reported Admiral Harrison through the communicator. The Rigel defense platform is coordinating with Gorvac ground forces. Casualties are minimal. Minimal? General Throck stared at the tactical display in disbelief. Your platforms are engaging 1,000-ship fleets with 0 losses? Marcus nodded calmly. Our defensive installations were designed for exactly this scenario. Every weapon system, every shield generator, every tactical algorithm was created specifically to counter Xerion technology at overwhelming odds. The battle was unlike anything previously recorded. Human installations throughout the galaxy fought with perfect coordination, their AI systems sharing tactical data instantaneously across interstellar distances. What should have been desperate last stands became systematic destruction of Xerion assault fleets. The ethereal collective homeworld reports complete security, announced Dr. Lixus, monitoring communications. Human defense platforms arrived 3 hours before the Xerion fleet and established impenetrable orbital shields. Ambassador Villana's form shimmered with amazement. Impossible. We never requested assistance. How did your forces know to defend our world? Because we've been monitoring every inhabited system for decades, Marcus replied. Every world with sapient life received protection whether they wanted it or not. This war isn't about politics or alliances. It's about survival. The central display showed the most critical battle, the assault on the Xerion command megastructure in the Galactic core. A massive human fleet led by the UHSN Ragnarok was engaging the heart of enemy power. Fighting through gravitational distortions and stellar radiation, that would destroy conventional vessels. Quantum torpedoes are ineffective against their primary shields, reported the fleet commander. Initiating Protocol Omega. Marcus's expression grew grim. Protocol Omega authorization confirmed. Execute at your discretion. Ambassador Korath leaned forward nervously. What is Protocol Omega? Our final option, Marcus said quietly. Something we hoped never to use. On the display, the human dreadnoughts suddenly changed formation. Instead of continuing their conventional attack, they began linking their systems together, combining their power cores and weapon arrays into a single massive construct. Stellar engineering, breathed Dr. Lixus. They're turning their own fleet into a weapons platform. The linked human vessels fired a single coordinated beam directly into the neutron star at the center of the Xerion megastructure. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then the star's rotation began to accelerate dramatically. They're destabilizing the neutron star, General Throck whispered in awe. The gravitational effects will tear apart everything in the system. The Xerion megastructure, which had taken 50,000 years to build, began collapsing as its power source became increasingly unstable. The massive ring structures buckled and shattered, taking with them the central command authority for the entire Xerion network. Across the galaxy, Xerion forces suddenly lost coordination. Without their command center, the machine intelligence began fragmenting into smaller, less effective units. Human forces pressed their advantage ruthlessly, destroying enemy fleets, before they could adapt to the new situation. It's over, Marcus announced as the last major Xerion stronghold fell silent. The threat has been neutralized.